And the next morning, when Fumi opened the kitchen of her restaurant, she saw mouth-watering dishes. All the meals she asked Ebora Dano, the spirit cook, to prepare were all there, finely arranged. She told Fumi that she would know that the spirit cook wants blood whenever the carving starts blinking and showing a red light any night she speaks to it, and so must cut a part of her body for her blood to flow and touch the carving. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a woman popularly known as and called Iyafumi. She was called Iyafumi, which means Fumi's mother. This also means that Iyafumi should have a child whose name is Fumi. Fumi is Iyafumi's only daughter and child. After the birth of Fumi many years ago, Iyafumi and her husband had tried for more children, but it seemed fate destined them to have just one child. And so, her husband pampered and doted so much on Fumi. He prevented his wife from raising and instilling the right values and discipline on their daughter, as he would always ask her not to be hard on her because Fumi was his treasure. Iyafumi owns a big and successful local restaurant. Her local dishes gave her customers ultimum satisfaction, as Iyafumi was a very good cook. She had learned how to cook from her grandmother, who also passed her secret recipes to her. Though she had quite a number of employees and waiters, and despite how tedious it was, Iyafumi took it upon herself to always cook the food herself and would only allow her workers help her with other things such as cleaning and serving customers. Iyafumi is aware that it is the taste of her meals that makes her unique and her food business successful, and so she continued preparing the food herself. One evening, Iyafumi was returning home after the day's work when she saw a young girl sitting all by herself in a corner by the road and was crying. Iyafumi stopped and went to the girl to find out why she was crying and all alone. The girl had lost her parents, and her father's relatives had taken all that her father had. They were also trying to marry her off to a very old man as a fifth wife. That was why the girl had run away from home. Iyafumi felt sorry for the girl. The girl was about the same age as her teenage daughter Fumi. Iyafumi took the girl home and, with the permission of her husband, became the guardian of the girl. The name of the girl was Tokwe. Tokwe obeyed and served Iyafumi diligently and learned a lot from her. Years later, Iyafumi suffered a terrible sickness, and as a result of that, one day on her sick bed, Iyafumi called her husband, her daughter, 2 family members, and 3 of her closest friends, and in the presence of them all, she transferred the ownership of her restaurant business to Tokwe. You are dedicated and have learned so much from me over the years. With you, I trust that my legacy would continue. So, I am handing over my restaurant business to you from today. It is yours to run and to own, Iyafumi told Tokwe before she gave up the ghost. By this time, Tokwe and Fumi had grown into young adults. Fumi and her father were very angry that Iyafumi had bequeathed the restaurant to Tokwe, whom they referred to as an outsider. According to them, it was unacceptable. Father, what mother did is not fair. People would mock me if I allowed that intruder of a girl take over my mother's business, Fumi said angrily to her father. So, they went against Iyafumi's words and tried to take away the restaurant from Tokwe. But Tokwe, who loved Iyafumi and wanted so much to honor her dying wish and preserve her legacy, reported the issue to the king. Though Fumi and her father bribed some of the people who were witnesses on the day Iyafumi transferred the ownership of her restaurant to Tokwe, 2 refused to compromise and told the truth before the king when asked to testify. The king, being a wise king and with the help of the gods, was able to discern the truths, and so he gave the order that Tokwe be allowed to own and run the restaurants, as it was given to her and it is rightfully hers now. Iyafumi was right to have handed over the restaurant to Tokwe. Tokwe, who had learnt how Iyafumi prepares every meal on their menu, always cook the food by herself, just the way Iyafumi does. According to the customers, it was as though Iyafumi never left, and they all praised Tokwe. Fumi was pained with the news and good reports she hears about Tokwe, and so decided to compete with Tokwe and steal the spotlight. Fumi, with the support of her father, decided to open her own restaurant opposite Tokwe's own. Because Fumi never learned how to cook, she employed someone to do the cooking. And because she was competing with Tokwe, Fumi sold her own food for half the price of a plate of food in Tokwe's restaurant. Well, every customer who patronizes Fumi never returned the second time, and this is because they had thought that they were going to get a delicious meal for half the price, since Fumi was the real Iyafumi's daughter and thought she would definitely possess her mother's cooking skill. But they were disappointed, as the taste of Fumi's meal were nothing compared to Iyafumi or Tokwe's own. So they never returned and continued patronizing Tokwe. Fumi kept changing and employing cooks after cooks and offered free meals to passers-by in order to attract and lure customers to her restaurants. But none of the cooks were a match to Tokwe, and people still prefer to patronize Tokwe. Then one day, Fumi, in a resolve to defeat Tokwe at all costs, traveled to another village to seek help from a witch doctor. The witch doctor, after listening to Fumi's request and had made some divinations, advised Fumi to forget about her pursuits. She told Fumi that, apart from the fact that Tokwe had learnt Iyafumi's great cooking skills and recipes, and that she was excellent at it, Tokwe also had the backing of the gods, and no evil can be done to her. But Fumi would not accept. Surely there must be a way to help me. I refuse to be a failure. Do something to help me. Or maybe you are not as powerful as I hear you are, Fumi said, challenging the witch doctor. The witch doctor was angry and felt challenged. Okay, there is a way, but it involves a little blood sacrifice, the witch doctor told her. If it is not the blood of my father, then I am ready, Fumi replied immediately. No one has to be killed. Just a little shedding of blood, as simple as cutting the finger and allowing Ebora Dano taste the blood, would get the work done, the witch doctor replied. The witch doctor told Fumi that occasionally she would have to cut her finger or any other part of her body she so desires to allow blood flow in order for Ebora Dano to leak, and that by so doing, Ebora Dano would constantly grant her wish and her restaurant business would be successful and will keep growing. The witch doctor told Fumi that Ebora Dano is a spirit cook who would prepare all the meals in Fumi's restaurants. She gave Fumi a carving which signifies the spirit cook and asked Fumi to put it in a corner in her kitchen. She is to mention the meals she wants Ebora Dano to prepare every night, and that by morning, all the meals would be ready. She told Fumi that she would know that the spirit cook wants blood whenever the carving starts blinking and showing a red light any night she speaks to it, and so must cut a part of her body for her blood to flow and touch the carving. The required sacrifice and all the instructions of the witch doctor seemed unbelievably easy to Fumi. She excitedly received the carving and thanked the witch doctor and left. Fumi did as she was instructed when she got back, and the next morning when Fumi opened the kitchen of her restaurant, she saw mouth-watering dishes. All the meals she asked Ebora Dano, the spirit cook, to prepare were all there, finely arranged. Fumi tasted the meals and they tasted so well. Then she offered some for free to some new passers-by as a whole strategy. These people, after tasting the food, went into the village and shared the testimony. And so from that day, Fumi's restaurant began to flourish. More people came to patronize her. Surprisingly, even people who were known to never be interested in patronizing restaurants and had always preferred the meals prepared by their wives at home during the time of Iyafumi and Tokwe now patronize Fumi. Tokwe's restaurant suffered a little setback as a result of this. Though sad and unable to explain the turn of events, Tokbe kept pushing as she also resolved to carry on the legacy of Fumi. Now, at first, when Fumi had brought the carving, it usually blinks once every 2 weeks to show that the spirit cook wants blood. But then, it grew into blinking once every week, and after a while, to once in every 3 nights, and then to every night. Fumi started wondering why the spirit cook was beginning to demand blood now every night. She went back to the witch doctor after sales one evening to find out why it was so. The witch doctor explained that it was because our restaurant was growing rapidly, and the more it grew, the more often Ebora Dano would request for blood. Fumi, wanting to keep and maintain the growth of her restaurant, kept cutting herself every night to supply the spirit cook with blood. Well, Fumi started to grow lean, and the leaner she grew, the more her restaurant grew. Soon, people began to notice how dry and lean she was becoming. First, it was her father who noticed, then her waiters and employees, as they were the one who saw her often. Later, it became so obvious to everyone in the village, as she was now almost like a thin stick. The whole village began to gossip, especially the women. How come she's getting dry and thin, despite how much money she now makes? They asked in wonder. In all of this, the spirit cook kept blinking and demanding for Fumi's blood, and the more Fumi cut herself, Fumi discovered that she was now becoming very weak. Her heart also began to race fast, and so was the way she was now breathing. She also suffered blurry vision. One day, in her attempt to be smart and fearing that she may collapse one day, she continues cutting herself. Fumi tricked one of her waiters who was young and naive. She pretended to have accidentally cut the girl whilst trying to cut a meat together that was not even needed. She stopped the girl from washing the blood off and made the blood flow into a tiny bowl first. Then, that night, when the carving blinked again, Fumi offered it the girl's blood instead of her own. Well, with what Fumi did, Fumi sped up her own destruction. Fumi got to her restaurant the next morning to see it on fire. Every attempt by the villagers to put off the fire failed until everything was burnt to ashes. However, the carving lay on the ash, looking fresh and not burnt at all. The expression of the carving shows that it was very angry with Fumi. And then, just as Fumi stared at it, shocked and in fear, it disappeared. Then immediately, Fumi fell down and started coughing out blood. Fumi did not die but remained in bed sick until the next day when her father got a dibia from the next village to come treat his daughter. The dibia with the gift of revelation was able to know what Fumi had done and asked Fumi to confess to the whole village about her evil deed. Fumi did and begged for forgiveness from the whole village and from Tokbe. Months later, with the dibia's prayer and medicine, Fumi recovered. Her experience taught her to never be jealous of anyone, but to work hard and earn things the right way. She realized that it was because she never sat to learn from her mother, and because of her past lifestyle was why her mother did not trust her to hand over the restaurants to her. She also realized that she would have rather learnt a lesson then and humbled herself to learn from Tokbe instead of engaging in an unhealthy competition with her. So, when she became fully strong, she went to Tokbe to work and learn under her. It was a good decision as Fumi later also learnt of her great-grandmother's special recipe and became a good cook also. A few years later, she got married and opened her own restaurant in her husband's village. The end. I hope you enjoyed the story and have learned a thing or two from it. I would love to know. Please leave a comment. Thank you for watching and see you in our next video. Bye.